You're listening to Creating a Universe, a Love Anarchy podcast hosted by William J. Rogers. On this show, we follow the journey of creatives, artists, and entrepreneurs who are making a name for themselves in the ever-evolving landscape of today's industry. Featuring an insight into both Love Anarchy and the Lovaniverse music universe, as well as the individual projects and stories of each of our guests, from the music industry and beyond. So whether you're a budding creative or simply interested in what goes on behind the scenes, this is the podcast for you.
Hello and welcome to Creating a Universe. I'm your host, William J. Rogers. And today I'm doing the first solo episode in quite a while, actually. The very first episode of this podcast actually was a solo episode. I believe I did another one with some announcements and such about Love Anarchy around episode 6 or so. But otherwise, people that listen and watch the show will know that I'm normally here with a guest, kind of doing a little bit of a interview talk show kind of thing. But yeah, I've decided to come on and do another solo episode, and let me assure you, there is very good reason for it. The topic of today's episode is how to build and monetize a fan base for your creative career. So obviously this is going to be an episode really geared towards the creators in our community and beyond. Naturally, many of us are musicians, myself included. So I'm going to largely focus on music, but this is going to be, absolutely relevant as well to artists, creators really of all kinds. Perhaps you make some kind of artisan product or provide services, lessons, these kinds of things. It's all going to be absolutely relevant to what we talk about today. But as I mentioned, I'm really going to mostly be using music as an example. Now, I'm not just going to talk about all of the typical stuff either. In fact, I'm mostly going to look to avoid that. The stuff that you can hear from anybody everywhere about whatever, post on social media 10 times a day and, try and get as many Spotify streams as you can. Whatever, you don't need me to tell you that. I'm going to actually look to focus on some things which I believe are, if anything, perhaps even more impactful and certainly just unbelievably overlooked. There is one thing in particular that I'm going to talk about in this episode that to me is the most underutilized method of musicians, artists, and, independent creators. I'm really going to look to make this episode as impactful and informative as possible. Ultimately, this is what Love Anarchy is all about, providing you a platform and support to go and achieve your dreams. So that's why I wanted to do something a little bit different today and give you the best advice I possibly can. Now, there are also a couple of very special reasons for this episode, and it all sort of ties in together. So I'm going to tell you very quickly about two very exciting new announcements at Love Anarchy. Now, members of our community may already be somewhat aware of these things, as we've been sort of slowly rolling it out. But today is a real watershed moment, because this is the official public unveiling. So, two things. The first is a completely free online course that's going to go into much more comprehensive detail on this topic. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not looking to hold anything back in this episode. I'm really going to look to give you the absolute best pieces of information I possibly can. But this course is something that I spent months working on, and that was an intense few months, let me tell you, otherwise it would have taken a lot longer. And that is much more sort of meticulously planned out and scripted, and it's really going to go into a lot more depth on this topic. As I mentioned, it's completely free, so if you enjoy this episode and find this information valuable, then you can literally just go sign up for this course and go into a lot further depth about it there. I've been getting some absolutely fantastic feedback about this course from the members of the community that have already taken it. And I must say that as somebody who has studied marketing, especially in the realm of music and whatnot, for a long time now, I really don't think there's anything like it online, especially for free. There are some other courses out there that are honestly actually really solid investments, but they will set you back a fair bit. $1,000, couple of grand, that kind of thing. As you know, here at Love Anarchy, we're all about making this kind of support as accessible as possible. So that's why I decided to put everything I could into building out this course, making it as informative, impactful, as valuable as possible, and then giving it to you, our members, completely free of charge. So this is something I'm really excited about, It's something that has been providing a lot of value to the people that have got it so far. And it's something that I just hope really gets into the hands as many people as possible that will really find value in it. Because ultimately we just want to help people get off the ground. And as we'll touch upon in this podcast episode now, we're going to be talking about a lot of things in there that just are not really talked about enough. Things that I just don't see in free content online. So the free course, that's something that you can literally check out right now. All you have to do is head to e.loveanarchy.co. That's C-O. Links will be in the show notes. And you can sign up to get the course completely free of charge. Now, if you go to that link, you will see the second big announcement that we have for you right now. And this is a big one. We are unveiling an entire new branch of Love Anarchy. It's called Love Anarchy Entrepreneur, or LAE for short. LAE is a branch of our community-driven company that essentially acts as a digital marketing agency, providing bespoke software services to musicians, artists, and creative entrepreneurs. But of course, it's not just your typical marketing agency. This is designed very specifically to cater to the needs of people in our community, with a special focus on emerging artists and grassroots talent. The core of it is built around our all-in-one marketing software suite, which features really all the tools that you need to succeed. Everything from tools to build a website, to manage your contacts, email marketing, to sell products, services, and subscriptions, memberships, social media scheduling, and really anything that you could need to establish a professional presence online and build a real brand around your creative projects. As well as the software itself, we provide everything you could need to be successful with it. From courses and training to consulting and mentorship, all the way to a fully managed service where we can literally build and maintain everything for you. Of course, there are plenty of music promotion companies out there, PR firms, and companies that might run your ads for you. But as far as I'm aware, Love Anarchy Entrepreneur is a completely unique software service. There is nothing out there like it. And I am especially proud of how accessible we have been able to make this. So if you're interested, just get in touch. Head to the website e.loveanarchy.co and fill out the contact form to get in touch. Tell us about your project, and as I say, we'll work on a completely bespoke package to fit your specific needs. So that's e.loveanarchy.co, C-O. There you'll find all the information you need about the software service, as well as a button to sign up for the free course. Now with that big unveiling out of the way, let's get into the topic of this episode. How to build and monetize your fan base. Okay, so those of you that know me know that I like to get a little philosophical. So let's start by talking about the concept of creative entrepreneurship. Why is this important? Now, for me, I think that it's very important, and it's something that I personally really look to stand for and encourage to the members of Love Anarchy. And to me, it ties into this sort of larger sense of duality. Now, I'm personally a really big fan of Taoist philosophy and the yin-yang, and really just the concept of duality in general. Light and dark, masculine, feminine, order and chaos. Now, in this particular context, I would define it as creativity and business. Now, if you're anything like me, chances are you see yourself as a creator first and foremost. Personally, I was always into music from a very young age. I would say that I'm naturally very much a creative kind of person. And sure, we can obviously focus on the pros of that, but let's face it, we all know that there are also cons. I, for one, can definitely say that, especially in my youth, I lived a rather chaotic lifestyle. And whilst I always had great ambitions for working in music, it took a long time for things to really start taking shape. Ultimately, what it comes down to is if you really want to do art or your creative passion professionally, it requires you to not just have the creative stuff down, but also the business side. So for many of us artists, we would much rather spend our time on the creative side, right? Of course we would. That's where we feel we really belong. And so when everyone starts talking about business and marketing or things like that, it's like, yeah, no thank you. But this is where in the music industry, in particular, the likes of record labels have been able to exploit this in artists. Ultimately, if they are the ones that are going to turn it into a business and therefore make money from it, then really you're giving all the leverage to them, which is why they take all the money, or at least the lion's share of it, especially in the traditional music industry. Now, the music industry, and really creative industries in general, have changed significantly in recent years. The fact that everything is online now, and that we have social media platforms, means that we don't actually depend on gatekeepers at labels in order to really build and monetize an audience. So that is absolutely wonderful. It's a really, really huge plus for us as creators. However, there is a big catch to it. If we're going to move forward without the likes of record labels or other people that essentially can run our business for us, then ultimately we're going to have to take responsibility for that ourselves. It is a trade-off, but one that I believe is ultimately really worth it. It just means that we do need to be willing to put the work in. Now, honestly, from all of the wonderful musicians and creators that I know, many people really are willing to put the work in. The thing they're usually lacking is a real sense of direction. You see, another issue with there being no barrier to entry is the fact that there is a practically infinite supply of other independent creators looking to do the same thing as you. This then really makes the challenge about finding a way to cut through the noise. But don't worry, because realistically, most creators are just doing very, very little to really put themselves out there. And that creates a massive opportunity for people like, hopefully, you, that are willing to put in the work. And so I truly believe that the best thing that we can do to empower ourselves as creators is be willing to engage with the business side, to really become our own yin-yang, to marry our natural creative energy with a sense of structure and direction. For these two things married together is what's really required for success. This is why I believe in creative entrepreneurship. For that's what I think we all have to become in this day and age to really be successful. And what's so wonderful about that is that the power is really in your hands. With the right guidance and work ethic, you can make things happen for yourself with nobody else in your way. And that really is a blessing. So now you can see why we called our new branch Love Anarchy Entrepreneur. It is the goal of this branch to provide you with the tools, the knowledge, and the support to ultimately become a Love Anarchy entrepreneur for yourself. Someone who can arm themselves with what is required to achieve success on their own terms. That is what this is all about. So, in the free course that I mentioned, we break down the Love Anarchy system into 5 key pillars. The 5 pillars are as follows. Number 1 is your website. Now, why is having a website important? Your website is your online home. That is your base of operations. It is the hub for everything that you do and a definitive statement of who you are. Now, many people think, do you really need a website in this day and age? Can't we just have our Instagram and our Facebook page or whatever social platform you're using at the moment? This right here is the first thing that separates the professionals from the amateurs. You see, a key theme here is ownership of your own platform. Social media platforms come and go. You can build up a following on such and such platform, but at any time the platform can change its algorithm and suddenly you can't reach any of those followers anymore. What you have is essentially rented space on somebody else's site. They own that data, and you do not have any tangible asset from it. What happens if you invest all of your time and energy into building up a following on a particular platform, only for it to then shut down or become irrelevant? They could kick you off for violating some change that they put in their terms of service. Or, as I mentioned, what happens all the time, they change their algorithm, and now you can't even reach your audience. That is far too volatile for you to actually build a business for yourself. Don't get me wrong, social media can be a great form of traffic. It's where we can first meet people and drive them towards our platform. But if we're using it instead of our own platform, well, that's the first thing we need to fix. The second pillar is your shop. And really, in extension to your website, this is where you can sell products, services, and subscriptions online. This may be connected to your website, or perhaps essentially a separate website specifically for your shop. But either way, you need to have something like this in place in order to actually generate revenue. Now, you may or may not be thinking like, oh, well, I don't care about the money or whatever it is. I'm all about the art. But wherever you stand on that, If you want to really build an audience and have people take you seriously and have the resources to actually grow what you're doing, then I'm afraid money is the fuel that makes it all happen. And once again, just like the website, you are far better off taking ownership of this yourself, to have your own online store. It's all well and good to use platforms such as Bandcamp, but once again, these are really more tools for discovery. You shouldn't rely on a third-party platform like that if you want to make real revenue. Ultimately, platforms like this will end up taking a hefty fee, which is just not going to be scalable for you when you're doing proper numbers. So, similar to the website, we want to be owning our own shop. The third pillar of our online creative business is social media, which obviously we've touched on a bit. And, I kind of really want to make a point of deliberately avoiding in this particular podcast, just because I talk about social media a lot in the course, which you can check out. And there's so many things out there about social media. It's something that we could talk all day about. So I would rather save your time and gloss over that one for now. The one thing I will emphasize, which I already quickly touched on, is that social media is a fantastic tool for discovery. You absolutely should be active on social media, and the more you engage with it, the more impact it will have. The fourth pillar somewhat extends from social media, which is digital advertising. I'm talking primarily here about the kind of ads that you run in Meta Business Suite for Facebook and Instagram. Google ads are also good, but more often than not, Facebook ads are the ones that are going to give you the biggest bang for your buck. Digital advertising on platforms such as these has completely revolutionized the space of advertising. Think about it. You wind back a few years, and advertising had a significantly more broadcast approach. You needed first and foremost to have the money in the bank to be able to take out advertisements in the first place. Think about giant billboards or television ads. This traditionally worked for big corporations who could pump loads of money and make so many people walk past such a billboard that it would create awareness of their product. This is another huge part of why record labels traditionally were able to dominate the music industry. They ultimately had the resources to pay for these huge broadcast advertisements, which an independent artist simply wouldn't have. But digital advertising has changed all of that. All of us now have access to laser target our audience and get started at literally any budget. If you're not familiar with how targeting works on a platform like Facebook, then let me give you an example. In the advertising module of the free course, I break down the creation of an ad campaign on the Meta Business Suite, creating ads for Facebook and Instagram. The ad is for a pirate fantasy metal band that I created literally just for the sake of demonstration. And whilst you have the regular demographic information such as age, gender, and location, the real power comes in the ability to target people that have specific interests. For example, the interest that I use in the demonstration is power metal. This means that the ad will only show up on Facebook and Instagram to people that are specifically interested in power metal. That alone is an insane advantage to getting a bigger bang for your buck. It's not just music or even metal music, but specifically power metal. But as if that wasn't enough, there's a feature that allows us to define interests further. This allows us to target people specifically that are interested in not only interest A, but also interest B. Seeing as our example was with a pirate power metal band, I decided to look for another interest that was related to pirates. The one I went for was the Pirates of the Caribbean film series. And therefore, what we're left with is that this ad is only going to show specifically to people that are interested in both power metal and the Pirates of the Caribbean film series. Now we're talking. You can then run this ad, which might have a hook or a headline, something along the lines of, "Are you a fan of both power metal and pirates? Then this is for you." You then perhaps have some really cool pictures of your band or some pirate artwork, or perhaps a video clip showing some of your pirate-themed power metal music video. You can then run this ad for as little as £1 or $1 or €1 a day and have it show exclusively to fans of both power metal and pirates. Honestly, I cannot tell you how revolutionary that feature really is. Advertising as well may seem a lot more complicated than it really is. I think a lot of experts would like to have you believe that it's really complex, but honestly, anybody can actually do this. And as I mentioned, I provided a complete walkthrough of creating an ad campaign for this example as a part of the free course. Yes, one last thing that I wanted to mention about advertising, just because this is really sweet. Once you've collected up enough data, for instance, let's say we were running an ad to get them to buy our album. Once we've got enough people that have then bought that album, we can turn around and say to Meta, right, what I want you to do is create me a lookalike audience. What it will then do is make a custom audience of people exactly like the ones who bought your album. This is honestly endgame territory. Because if you can get good results narrowing down the interests, imagine how good the results can be when it's based purely off of your data. Once Meta knows the exact kind of people that are buying your album, it can just go and find more of them. And the cost of advertising goes down and down. This works at any budget, and you can get started right now. Honestly, there is no better way to reach millions of people in no time at all. And that brings us to the fifth and final pillar, which is the big one. The pillar is called funnels and automation. But honestly, to simplify that, the main thing that we're going to be focusing on from it is essentially email marketing. Email is the most overlooked and underutilized tool by independent creators. I think honestly that most of us seem to have a little bit of a shiny toy syndrome, that we're all focused on the next social media platform that's come along. At this point, even Facebook seems old. So email must be some kind of arcane technology. But if this is what you think, then honestly, you could not be more wrong. Everyone has an email address, and email is not going anywhere. You see, email is a far more direct line of communication than any broadcast social media platform. The industry average open rates are significantly higher than engagement rates on any social media platform. So whilst a platform like TikTok might be good for virality, reaching new people that are not already in your audience or your community, nothing can beat email when it comes to actually communicating directly with your inner circle. Not only will significantly more of your fans read your emails than they will see your social media posts, pretty much all of them will see it. Therefore, if you have a new album coming out, whether they've opened up the email or not, they saw that header and they know that album is coming. You can also link anything that you want in an email. A link to your new video on another platform, the link to buy your new album, all things that you get utterly penalized for if you post on social media. And once again, harking back to what we said on pillar number 1, an email list is an actual asset that you own. It's not your following on a social media platform, which is utterly fleeting. An email list is your actual audience as a tangible asset. But perhaps the most powerful feature of all when it comes to email is the ability to set up automated sequences that introduce new people to your music and guide them towards becoming a paying customer and a loyal fan. Now, following on from our example in the previous pillar, let's take our pirate power metal band. Let's say that this is your band, and I'm a raving fan of power metal in Pirates of the Caribbean. I'm just sitting here, scrolling my social media, when suddenly I come across your ad. Now, let's say that ultimately the action that your ad wants me to take, the ad offers to get 3 free songs of pirate power metal and invites me to come on an epic pirate fantasy adventure. Well, that sounds great, and it costs me nothing, so sure. I go ahead and I click on the ad. I go to a landing page which asks me to put in my email address to get the free songs. This is what we call, in the marketing world, a lead magnet. It's something that I get in exchange for giving you permission to contact me. It is significantly more effective than a call to action such as sign up to my newsletter. Nobody wants to sign up to your newsletter, but a pirate power metal adventure with 3 free songs? Sure, sign me up any day. By submitting the form, I have now entered the automated series which you have planned in advance. Now, when I head to my email inbox, I see an email right there from you, welcoming me into the pirate crew. I click on the email, which introduces me to the community, the band, and sets the precedent for the experience ahead. A minute later, I get my first free song in a separate email. There's a private link to download the track, as well as a personalized message from you that tells me all about the song. You see, it's all about the personal connection. It's the openness and intimacy of the emails that's really going to allow us to develop a connection, and for me to become invested in your band as a fan. And so I loved that first song, and I love getting to hear about what inspired it or what it's about. I'm really looking forward to my second song, and there's a little PS there that says, by the way, song 2 is coming tomorrow, don't miss it. I'm now really looking forward to receiving the second song tomorrow, and 24 hours later, it arrives in my inbox. In our example with 3 free songs, this may go over 3 days, each one creating a new touch point, another step in establishing the relationship between artist and fan. Perhaps on day 4, you might surprise me with another free gift. It could be a bonus download, or perhaps it's simply a blog post sharing a really intimate story. Whatever it is something that has now really gone a long way to strengthen our bond. This kind of welcome series for a new fan is something that you can truly get creative with and can really be very unique to you. But the precipice is this. Once you have gone through that initial batch of emails that have introduced them to your music, to your project, to what you do, and that's allowed you to tell some stories and really connect with them on a much more human level. Likely by this point, they've also gone and followed all your social medias and maybe streamed music that you have online or checked out more of what you do. Now this is where the magic happens. Let's say 7 days in. I've been absolutely loving the free songs that you sent and checking out all that you've got to do. Really appreciating the personalized connection that we've been able to have. I've really enjoyed this unique experience. Now this is the point. You send an email that makes me a special offer. Something to the effect of this. Thank you so much for joining us this week throughout this pirate adventure. We really appreciate you joining the community. And as a special way of saying thank you, we'd like to offer you an exclusive discount if you'd like to pick up a copy of our album. Let's say 20% off. But in order to keep this exclusive, we can only keep this offer open for 3 days. Therefore, if you've been thinking about getting the album, then now is the time. I then think, well, yeah, I did really enjoy these few songs, and I really appreciate this unique experience and the connection that I've made with the band. It would be cool to have the album, and if I get it now, I'll even get a few quid off. So, sure, why not? I'll get the album. And that is how you make money as an artist. Whether they buy at this stage or not, you will continue to have these new listeners on your list. This will allow you to continue to nurture your connection with them, be it through more automated emails that you can schedule in advance or real-time broadcast emails that you send out as and when. Ultimately, anything important that you do should be shared with your list. And if you include the odd promotion there from time to time, a certain percentage of them will convert. Now, the crux of it is, if you can get the money coming in from the sales to be more than the money that you are spending on ads to get people into this series, then you are able to profit right from the get-go. And this can be steadily scaled up sky high. In fact, many independent artists are generating 6-figure revenue year after year, completely automated using this method. Now, profiting on the front end is, of course, a best case scenario, which is a really wonderful situation to be in for anybody, because at that point, you are making money to build your audience. But even if it's not profitable on the front end, you still have this audience available to remarket to whenever you want. Ultimately, with email, it's all a numbers game. You're going to send a broadcast out, a certain percentage of those people on your list will open the email, and a certain percentage will click on whatever the call to action you've sent them is. This means with a large enough list, you'll know that whenever you send out an offer, X% are going to buy it. Therefore, you may use your first album, for example, as a bit of a loss leader, something of an investment in building that initial audience. But once you have enough people on your list, especially ones that bought that first album, then when it comes to releasing album number 2, and you announce the crowdfunder for that album or the pre-sale, then guess what? You send that to your list, and you know that those are the people right there that are going to jump on it. When you see these big crowdfunding campaigns that hit lofty targets like in 24 hours, this is how they're doing it. Of course, the huge surge of activity that can come from your email list can then trigger the virality effect. So ultimately, whether it's wildly profitable from the get-go or something of an upfront investment, building an email list of well-nurtured fans that have gone through a personalized experience like the example I gave is the number one thing you can do to create a real business around your creative project. One could even go as far to say that if you're not doing this, do you even have a business? Do Do you even have an audience? Do you even have a fan base? The crazy thing is, pretty much all businesses in every other industry know this. I'm sure you've entered countless email lists of various companies which offer you coupons and discounts and tell you their brand story and all of that. They do it because that is how you do business online. That is how e-commerce works. And they all know that. Yet for some reason, musicians, artists, for some reason we seem to think it just doesn't apply to us. Or it's something that maybe we sort of know about or heard about, but for whatever reason just don't take very seriously. If there's one thing you take from listening to this podcast right now, it is don't make that mistake. At the very least, do not underestimate how important it is to own your own platform and to own your own audience. If you implement these things, then you will take the power back into your own hands. And you will be well on your way to building a real, loyal fan base, to generating a sustainable income that you can live comfortably off of, and ultimately achieving your dreams. So, I hope that this has been insightful. There's really a lot that I can say about these topics, but as I've mentioned, I presented this all a lot more meticulously in the free course. Not only does the free course go into more detail with modules on each of the 5 pillars, it also covers more holistic topics such as mindset, branding, and even streaming for musicians. If you found value in what I've shared with you in this episode, which I hope you have, then I really encourage you to check out the course. It's completely free, so you've got nothing to lose, and I've really attempted to make it as impactful as I possibly could. As far as courses go, it's really not too long. I've attempted to jam-pack it with the best information possible and really just no fluff. I would honestly go as far to say that I genuinely believe it is the best couple of hours you could possibly invest in your creative career. Not only will you get the full video course hosted on our in-house course platform at Love Anarchy Entrepreneur, you'll also get the companion email series, which provides much more bite-sized chunks on each topic. Therefore, it is a fantastic way for you to continue your learning and to see this all in action. Just head to e.loveanarchy.co, that's C-O, to get the free course now. And lastly, I just have to mention one more time, the brand new branch of our course, Love Anarchy Entrepreneur. If you would like to start implementing these strategies for yourself, whether you're just getting started or would like to level up your game, save money, and get extra support, there has never been such a tailor-made solution as Love Anarchy Entrepreneur. And so I really encourage you to come and check out our website, e.loveanarchy.co. There you'll get to find out more information about the software service, as well as watch the funny little promo that I created. It's a little tongue-in-cheek, but those of you who know me should expect no less. Check it out, sign up for the free course, and get in touch about LAE. I can guarantee that as of making this podcast right now, that if you get in contact through the form, you're going to be speaking to me personally and directly. And I would really be more than happy to talk very personally about you and your project and your specific needs. And I would love to help you move forward with your creative career. So with all that being said, I'm going to wrap up this episode for now. It's been a really cool, interesting one. I hope you've enjoyed it. We'll be back with another episode in a couple of weeks. That one will, of course, be business as usual. But let me tell you, there is so much exciting stuff coming from Love Anarchy very, very soon. And this is just the beginning of it. Get on the free course. Get on Love Anarchy Entrepreneur. And tell your friends. Together, we'll all help each other achieve our dreams.